The construction of the White House, one of the most iconic symbols of American democracy, was built in large part by enslaved laborers, a fact often overshadowed in history books. When President George Washington selected the site for the White House in 1791, Washington, D.C. was still a developing city with little infrastructure. In order to build the home of the president, cheap and skilled labor was required, and much of this labor came from enslaved black workers who toiled under harsh conditions with no recognition. At the time, the U.S. government struggled to find enough skilled white laborers willing to work on the project, so they turned to slavery. Many of the enslaved workers were rented out by their owners to the federal government, which paid the slave owners, not the workers themselves. Enslaved laborers performed backbreaking work, including cutting stones, laying bricks, sawing wood, and making mortar. Skilled enslaved craftsmen, such as carpenters, masons, and blacksmiths, also played a crucial role, constructing the framework and intricate architectural details of the building. Documents from the time show the names of some of these enslaved workers, including Ben, Daniel, Peter, and Harry, who were all recorded as laborers on the White House. However, because enslaved people were treated as property, most of their full names were never recorded, and their contributions were largely erased from historical narratives for centuries. The irony of the People's House being built by people who had no rights, freedom, or voice in government is stark. Even after the White House was completed in 1800, slavery continued within its walls as several early presidents, including Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, and Andrew Jackson, enslaved people in the White House itself. It wasn't until 2016, during Michelle Obama's speech at the Democratic National Convention, that mainstream awareness of this history gained significant traction. In her speech, she reminded the nation that she, a black woman, woke up every morning in a house built by slaves, a powerful statement that forced many Americans to confront this painful history. The construction of the White House, one of the most iconic symbols of American democracy, was built in large part by enslaved laborers, a fact often overshadowed in history books. When President George Washington selected the site for the White House in 1791, Washington, D.C. was still a developing city with little infrastructure. In order to build the